When Rome withdrew its legions in the early 5th century, Britain was left exposed. Raids from the Picts and the Scots threatened the north, and old Roman defenses fell into ruin. Desperate for help, some British leaders invited warriors from across the North Sea, tribes known as the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. They came as hired soldiers, but soon realized this wounded land was ripe for settlement. The alliance didn't last. At first, the newcomers fought Britain's enemies and were rewarded with land and wealth. But when their demands grew and were refused, the Saxons turned on their former employers. Towns were burned, fields seized, and the island fell into chaos as allies became conquerors. The native Britons resisted fiercely. Leaders like Ambrosius Aurelianus, and perhaps the legendary King Arthur, rallied their people against the invaders. At the Battle of Mountbatten, the Britons won a rare victory that slowed Saxon expansion for a generation. Yet Britain remained fractured, and its unity could not last. For much of the 6th century, Britain became a divided land. The Saxons held the fertile plains of the east and south, while the Britons retreated to the western highlands, to Wales, Cornwall, and Cumbria. Roman towns crumbled, trade slowed, and much of the old order vanished. Yet, in remote monasteries, learning and faith survived, preserving the memory of Rome in a new and harsher world. By the late 6th century, the Saxons were no longer raiders. They were settlers. Wooden halls replaced Roman villas, and new communities spread across England's river valleys and coasts. The Angles settled in north and east, the Saxons in the south, and the Jutes in Kent. Out of their migrations, new kingdoms began to emerge. Over time, small tribal territories grew into powerful kingdoms. Kent, Sussex, and Wessex in the south, Mercia and East Anglia in the center, Northumbria in the north. These 7 realms, the Heptarchy, defined the political landscape of early England. Their rivalries and alliances would shape centuries of warfare, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. As the Saxons spread westward, the Britons were pushed to the edges of their homeland. Their language and culture survived in isolated regions, but much of Roman Britain faded into memory. Yet, their legacy endured, in legends, saints, and stories that would later become part of England's own heritage. The new rulers brought their own gods, laws, and customs. Life revolved around kinship, loyalty, and the mead hall, the center of each community. Pagan shrines stood where Roman temples once had been, and Germanic languages replaced Latin speech. But change was coming again. A new faith was crossing the sea. The Saxon invasion reshaped Britain beyond recognition, yet it also laid the groundwork for what would come next. A patchwork of kingdoms, bound by rivalry and destiny. In the next chapter, a new idea would begin to spread through these lands, one that would unite pagan kings under a single faith and set the foundation for England itself.